Hi, I'm Jacqueline and welcome to today's coaching session. In today's session, I'm going to be talking all about your instinct, your own inner GPS that you can follow to help put you on the right path in life and avoid danger coming up or unfortunate situations. So your instinct is something you really want to develop. I absolutely love knowing what your instinct is, developing your instinct, because it can help prevent misfortune coming up in your life. So what I'm going to do now is share with you a few stories to help you understand what your instinct is. Now, these stories that I'm going to start out with are very basic, they're very small, but this is where you need to start. It's like a muscle, your instinct. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, and the more you can hear it, and the better off that you are, okay? So let me give you an example. Many years ago when I started paying attention to my instinct and when I started to listen to it. Now, the first step in understanding and developing your instinct is self-awareness. You actually have to start hearing that little voice or that little guide and becoming aware that it's actually there. So let me give you this first example. It was a Sunday morning and I was getting ready to go to a picnic. And I was in my room and I was getting dressed and getting ready, and I put on my denim jacket. And a little voice in my head said to me, Jacqueline, don't take all your keys today in case you lose them. Only take your house key so you can get back inside. And I thought to myself, my head said, why would I do that? I never lose my keys. I've never lost my keys in my life. Why would I lose my keys today? And I ignored my instinct and I put all the keys with my key ring, with my house key and car key and locker key and the office key and the filing key. I had a bunch of keys on the same key ring that I would carry around, as we do. And I didn't bother to just take off that house key and just put the house key, the one that I needed that day, into my pocket. So up I went to my picnic and I had a lovely lunch with some friends, and there was a girl sitting next to me. I didn't know her very well. I'd met her through some friends there, and she left early. And now what happened with her is she was actually wearing almost the same denim jacket that I was wearing, and because we sat next to each other, we'd taken them off, it was on the grass. When she got up, she took mine. So off she went, and I was never to see her again. And I continued with the lunch, and then I was ready to go, and I grabbed my jacket and I put it on, and I thought, that feels a little bit strange, and I looked down and I thought, that's not my denim jacket, and of course not my pocket with all of my keys on it. So that is when I had a dilemma. Not only could I not get into my house, but that following week I had to spend all this time getting all my keys recut into the spare keys and so forth to get the keys to open everything I needed to. And I didn't have to have that trouble in my life, did I? No, because when I was getting dressed that day and putting my jacket on and reaching for my keys, my little instinct told me, don't take all your keys today, Jacqueline, in case you lose them. Somehow it knew that that was going to happen. And so I ignored it. Now, I then proceeded in my life a few weeks later, thinking, okay, I have this little voice, I must listen to it. Again, once when I was at the gym, my little instinct said, Jacqueline, you better take your bag to work today, your sports bag, because more than likely you won't have a chance to come back to the gym on the way home after work before you go to your carer's shift that you have in the evening. And so my instinct said, take your bag. And my head said, I never work past 5 o'clock in that particular job I was in. Nothing ever comes in the way of me leaving at 5 o'clock, ever. And so my head won for the second time, and I left my bag there and I went to work. Something completely out of the blue happened that I wasn't expecting. I had to stay way past 5 o'clock. I had to race back to the gym to get my bag and just make it to my caring shift in the evening. And I could have avoided all of that rush if I had listened to my instinct. Now, I only needed 2 examples of this for me to say, right, next time the little voice says something, I am sure going to listen to it. So my third story is a much better story, having a better outcome. And this is when I was working, years later, I was working on a project and I knew I had to get to the post office to post off some very important documentation. And I scheduled this for my Friday morning on the way moving from Geelong to Melbourne, and it fit in with my schedule perfectly. I would be going right past the post office. Everything was ready and I would then have it in the post on time by the end of the week where I needed to get it into. However, on Thursday morning, I woke up and my instinct told me, Jacqueline, you better get that documentation into the post office today, on Thursday, in case something comes up on Friday and you can't get there. So, not like the old me, I listened to this. Now, even though my head was saying, I can't see anything coming up that would prevent me from going to the post office on Friday, it's sort of a little bit out of my way to do it on Thursday. I have to stop working in the office, get in my car, drive to the post office just to post it and then come back. It's going to take a little chunk out of my morning when I would have much preferred to just work solidly in my office that morning like I had planned. But I knew my instinct knows better. And it was very important that that documentation got posted, because if it didn't get posted on Thursday or by Friday, it would have major complications at the end of the day. So what did I do that time? I listened to my instinct, absolutely, and I highly recommend you do this too. And so I got in my car and I went to the post office. I posted it and came back. Fine. Continued on with the rest of my Thursday. Friday morning, guess what happened? Something came up which prevented me from being able to just drive to the post office on the way to Melbourne. And I didn't have to stress when that incident occurred on Friday morning. I didn't have to think, oh my goodness, I've got to get to the post office, it's really important. Then I have a hard decision. Do I attend to this thing that's come up or do I go to the post? I already knew. My instinct had told me, posted it yesterday, and I was free to deal with the sudden event that occurred on the Friday morning. So this is how your instinct works. This is on a smaller scale, but like I said, it's like a muscle. You have to start listening to it, being aware of when is my little voice telling me something, and then my head overrides it. And I think, oh, that's just nonsense. That'll never happen. But that's your inner guide keeping you safe, and also on a practical level, helping you prevent yourself from misfortune and heartache. And if you can imagine some people you've known, or even yourself, more than likely, we've all been through a period of time where things just keep going wrong. And there, of course, there's other elements of why things just keep going wrong, and if there's cycles, it can be your perception, it can be your mindset, you're being positive or negative, the situation you're in. However, one of the key contributing factors on helping you become into a place in your life where things just go smoothly, things just naturally go really well, it can be when you listen to your instincts. So I highly recommend, one, that you start to listen to it. Start to say, well, where is it? Some people say, I don't know what my instinct is. I've never heard a little voice telling me to go one way or the other. It's there. Every single person has one. So if you're at that point, I want you to become aware of any times that you have a thought that comes into your mind that's sort of going against what the mainstream sort of thought process is, and it doesn't quite make any sense, but it's strongly telling you something. Start to listen to it and follow it and see what happens. And of course, when you follow it when it's quite a small thing, then you can practice. So it's not the end of the world if I had to run back and get my bag at the sports club and had to rush a little bit. But then when you move forward, you can help by when there's a bigger thing. So for example, some really big decisions where you might be changing work. You could have been in your company for a really long time and it's a huge decision, and then you're thinking, is it the right one for me? What's my gut instinct telling me? And then once you've already developed it, you'll know what it actually is, and you won't get it mixed up with fears. because that fear is a very similar feeling where sometimes your fear is saying, don't do that, but it's stepping out of your comfort zone, and that's actually something that you want to be doing. So you do want to take a step forward in there. Your instinct is more of the warning you of some danger. So that is sort of like the next step with your instinct, but at the beginning you must start to see aware of it, see the little things, start following it, develop like a big muscle, and then when it is a big thing, it'll be nice and loud and strong and clear for you to listen to it. So I hope that's helped you today. I love talking about instinct. Like I said, I highly recommend you following your instinct. It's just like a key factor for being successful and being happy in your life and things going really smoothly. So your homework, of course, is number one, awareness of your instinct, your guide, your gut feeling. What is it telling you? Start looking back. If you ever say to yourself, I knew that would happen, I just knew it, then you would have had your instinct telling you something that, hey, there was that thought, I just knew that was going to happen. So you want to be in the good situation like me in the post office, like I knew something was going to come up on Friday to prevent me, and I actually listened to it and applied it, and I'm all good. And you really love your instinct then. It's very disappointing when you haven't listened to it and you've let yourself down. So as I said, the first step is to have self-awareness that you do have your instinct there. Start following it to develop it on small things without huge consequences, and then you build it to be stronger and stronger, and then you have the trust that you can follow it in future with some of the bigger things to keep on your right path in life. Now, one other point that I want to add here is listening to other people when they have a gut instinct. So this is where you can open up your eyes. If you've already understood some of your own instincts and you're following that, you can start to see who else around you follows their instinct. Because then if you really trust someone, you can say, hey, I've just got this gut feeling that we shouldn't do that today. Then you can follow that and keep out of harm's way as well. So for example, I go out rowing on the river all the time with the girls and training for myself, and then I also coach. And if something's telling me there's some danger and I say, we're turning at this corner, we are not going around, some other people say, you know, why? Like, why today? As I have this feeling. And maybe we'll never find out what could have happened around the other side. But if my instinct is telling me maybe there's some danger, I'm not going there. And I'm going to turn around and have an alternative route for our training session instead to keep me safe. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I've loved bringing it to you. Listen to your instinct, develop it, follow it. Leave some comments below if you'd like to share some stories about your instinct. And I'm Jacqueline Pigdon. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day.